watch your deadlines slowly creep up and your to-do list just keeps on growing and growing. You continuously find yourself in that vicious cycle of pulling off all-nighters just so you can submit your assignments at the nick of time. Now, procrastination can seem harmless in the moment, but it's costing you so much more than you realize. The stress and anxiety you feel while procrastination actually causes you more pain than doing the work that you're procrastinating on. But yet, we find ourselves embracing this pain that procrastination gives to us. Now, in this video, I'll be sharing with you 7 ways that I used to actually help me break my procrastination rut quickly. Now, this concept of procrastination has actually been in existence for a really long time. It is so old, Socrates and Aristotle actually created a term for it called acrasia. This essentially means acting against your better judgment. It's when you say you're going to do one thing and end up doing another, like spending 3 hours on Instagram when you have that assignment that is due in the next 3 days. So the question is, how do we deal with this really old problem? Now, the first point in this video is by changing your mental frame of reference. One of the main reasons why we procrastinate, whether we're conscious of it or not, is because your brain is trying to protect you from uncomfortable feelings. Now, the brain does this in 2 major ways. The first way is by rationalizing the emotion, and the second way is by distractions. Now, what do I mean by your brain rationalizing an emotion? This is where your brain actually helps you to reduce the effect of the procrastination stimulus. Like, take for example, you have an assignment due in 5 days. Your brain feeds you the lie that, oh, it's just in 5 days. You still have more time, while in reality, you only have just 5 days, and it's going to keep on reducing. The second way, which is distractions, is when your brain distracts you by making other things look more appealing, like TikTok, video games, hey, even tidying up your room for no apparent reason. Your brain will find ways to just distract you. But the question we should ask ourselves is, why does our brain do this to us? I mean, logically, we know that we need to get a project done on time, but our brain still plays this mind games on us. If you are constantly procrastinating on a task, you have knowingly or unknowingly sowed the seeds of having negative associations with that task. Maybe you've associated pain, stress, anxiety, fatigue while engaging in a certain task. So anytime your brain comes across that task, it automatically associates it with pain, stress, fatigue. So your brain's response is protection. So how do we change this? How do we reframe our brains? Now, we can do this in 2 ways. The first way is by using your logical brain. Now, as humans, we've actually developed the ability over the course of a few millennia that a lot of animals do not actually have. And that ability is actually called the executive function. Now, humans are actually one of the few, if not one of the only animals on the face of the planet that have the ability to actually override instinct and let logic rule. Without this function, civilization as we know it would not be possible. We would not be able to follow simple rules like obeying the traffic light, because we will not be able to get past our natural instinct to want to get to wherever we want to go as quick as possible. I will not deny the fact that some people actually do act in ways that make you wonder if these people actually do have half a brain at all. But fortunately, thank the heavens that is usually an exception and not the rule. So how do we use this to our advantage? How do we actually use our God-given executive functions to overcome procrastination? Hey guys, this is Bernard from the future, and this is a quick example of how you can use your logical mind. So we start with the problem. I procrastinate when I want to study. So we then look at the negative feelings you have. First of all, I don't want to sit for 4 hours studying. I don't like the teacher. I find this subject difficult. Now, these are valid reasons to have negative feelings and negative associations towards a subject. So how do we solve this? We try to solve it using logic. So some logical arguments you could use is, you don't have to sit for 4 hours. You can just sit for 10 minutes. And if you don't feel like it, but honestly, usually 10 minutes ends up exceeding 10 minutes if we are being real here. And also another logical argument could be, you don't have to like the physical teacher. The book can be your teacher, because ideally books were actually the main teachers like for millennia before we started this whole educational system. And the last argument is that you can just ask Fred for help and study on your own after he shows you some things. Because you find a subject difficult, that doesn't mean everyone on the planet finds it difficult. So this is just a quick example. Hope you find it helpful. Back to Bernard in the past. Now, the second way that we can actually change our frame of reference is by making things fun. Now, there are 2 things that need to happen for us to make something fun or to create a game out of something. First of all, there needs to be a constraint, and second, there needs to be some degree of variableness to it. Take for example, you have the assignment of writing a 5,000-word essay. Now, to make this assignment fun, you can actually include some constraints to it. The first constraint could be, in the next 15 minutes, I want to write 150 words. Then the second step, which is variableness, is you do not know what those 150 words are. You are just going to create. Now, when you have these two things in play, you have all the tools you need to turn any task or make any experience into a game and make it more enjoyable than it currently is, which would help you change your mental frame about that task.
And guys, if you're getting a ton of value from this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. Now let's continue.
Now, the next tip that actually helped me with my procrastination is something called temptation bundling. Now, according to behavioral psychology, one of the many reasons why humans tend to procrastinate is actually due to a phenomenon known as time inconsistency. Now, what is time inconsistency? Now, this is when we tend to favor our present selves over our future selves. And I bet you, your present self is a sucker for immediate gratification. We make plans for our future selves to study for 3 to 4 hours every day, to go to the gym for at least 1 hour 4 times a week, to eat healthier and include vegetables and fruits to our diet. But the reality is that we make our plans for our future selves, but it's our present selves that will actually do the thing. And trust your present self to do what it knows how to do best. Instead of studying every day for 3 to 4 hours, we find ourselves scrolling on Instagram or watching movies for countless hours on end. Instead of going to the gym, we find ourselves wallowing on the bed in reckless abandon. And instead of eating healthier, we eat a box of pizza every night for dinner. Now, that begs the question, how do we trick our present selves into doing what needs to be done? Now, one way that I found to actually help me in this is through this thing called temptation bundling. Now, temptation bundling is actually when we combine something that is not fun with something that we deem as fun. Take, for example, you find it difficult to go to the gym. A way you can actually incorporate temptation bundling is you only listen to your favorite podcast when you are working out. The main point is to bake into the task something that your present self would find rewarding. It's kind of like creating a win-win situation for both your present self and your future self, so everyone is happy. Although sometimes, if you try to make everyone happy, but in this case, you can actually make everyone happy. Everyone meaning yourself. That leads us to the next point, which is break it down. Another reason why we tend to procrastinate, which is related to our mental frame, is that we tend to see the task as this big log of work that needs to be hammered upon. And one of the ways that we can actually break things down is two ways actually. We can either break the task down, we can either break the task down or break the time down. Now, the example I gave earlier about making the task fun, like let's say spending about 15 minutes writing 150 words to complete a 5,000 word essay, would to an extent suffice in explaining breaking the task down. But when we talk about breaking the time down, there's a concept I would like to introduce to you, which is called the Pomodoro technique. Now, the Pomodoro technique actually helps you to change your perception of time from hours to rather tomatoes. Yeah, I did mean what I said. Tomatoes. Now, the Pomodoro technique works like this. One Pomodoro session essentially consists of 25 minutes of focus time, which is then balanced with 5 minutes of rest or a break. So in total, one Pomodoro block is essentially 30 minutes. So instead of looking at a task and saying, oh, I'm going to spend 2 hours doing this, you can say, oh, I'm going to spend 4 Pomodoros doing this. It essentially helps you to break the size of the time investment into manageable chunks of Pomodoros, like the Italians we say, or in English, tomato, because Pomodoro is actually just the Italian word for tomato. Using this technique helps you to break the time down and makes the task less scary in your head. Which leads us to the next point, which is having skin in the game. Now, this point is quite similar to the previous point of temptation bundling, because that deals with reward systems, but in this case, we are dealing with the consequences. It actually still deals with the problem of time inconsistency. The consequences of you not studying will not be apparent until weeks when you're about to write the exam. So how does skin in the game help to fix this? Now, having skin in the game is essentially having the consequences of not doing what you set out to do much more tangible than if you were just to allow yourself to just roam around without the care in sight. Now, I'm going to give you a personal example. If I do not make a YouTube video this week, I have to give my friend $100. I don't know how you view money, but to me, it's quite a substantial sum to just do away with. Now, if you want to experiment with this, you could actually make a bet with your friend and say, if I do not do this assignment in 3 days or in a week, I give you $150 and let's see if you don't do the assignment. Now, another point is to reduce friction. This actually also means reducing the amount of thinking involved for you to perform the tasks that you want to do. That's actually one of the reasons why we are so easily drawn to social media, because you don't really have to think to go on Instagram. It's just at a push of a button and you are on Instagram or TikTok scrolling away hours and hours on end. But when you want to study, you have to think about the section in your drawer where you're gonna get that book. You have to set up the table. You have to make sure your table is clean. Or if you want to go to the gym, you have to look for your gym clothes in some hidden corner way inside your cupboard and dig deep to the underbellies of your bed to find your gym shoes. And you wonder why you procrastinate with all those layers of complexity. Just kidding, but still not kidding though. Now, when you reduce the layers of complexity between you and your desired action, it makes the flow a lot easier, and it makes it easier for you to do those tasks and reduces the likelihood that you would actually procrastinate on those tasks, which would lead us to the next point, which is to improve your environment. This actually works in tandem with reducing friction. It's actually the exact opposite. Improving your environment essentially means increasing the friction on things that will distract you. Take, for example, if you find yourself continuously scrolling on Instagram, you could improve your digital environment by deleting the app and thereby introducing more layers of complexity to when you actually want to go on Instagram or TikTok, because you have to go through the steps of downloading the app again, logging in again before you can access what you previously used to access at a push of a button. Or if you want to stop eating junk food, you can start by not having junk food in your fridge, thereby engineering your environment to ensure that it synergizes to you achieving your goals and not leading you to things that would actually distract you from what you actually deem important. And the next point in this video is having a routine. Average with a routine will always beat smart without a routine. It's at this point where you make doing the right things automatic and borderline thoughtless. This is when you essentially create habits that helps you to completely do away with procrastination. I'll be talking more about this process of creating habits in my next video. And guys, our wisdom nugget for the week. This one is actually from King Solomon, arguably one of the wisest men to have ever lived on the face of the earth. And it says, "Sluggards do not plow in season, so at harvest time they look but find nothing." So guys, let's do our best to not be sluggards this week. I myself included, by God's grace. And if you like this video, I think you're really going to love this video about how you can actually study smarter and not harder, which is going to be here. And when the video is out for creating habits, it's probably going to be on this side. And guys, if you found any points useful and beneficial, I would love to know what you think about these things. Please comment. I really love it when you guys comment. I mean, let's engage a bit. I love to read your thoughts and what you guys think about the video. Honestly, you may not think it's nothing, but it really goes a long way. Not just for encouragement, but also on the type of content that we produce on this channel. And like always, guys, remember to always keep it real. Bye, guys.